In the past few years, the Australian housing market has been nothing but unstable, with changing trends, lack of supply, and skyrocketing rents all making the news. When we look at the most recent data and break down the situation, one thing becomes very clear. The rental problem is getting worse in many parts of the world, especially Australia, and there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. Let's have a deeper look to go beyond the numbers and details and get a better sense of why this problem keeps happening and how it affects renters from all manner of backgrounds. Without further ado, let's get started. If we take a look at the numbers till September 2023, the most up-to-date statistics on the rental market is not good. Eleanor Creagh is a renowned senior economist who states that vacancy rates are falling because there aren't enough rental homes. The number of people looking for rentals keeps going up, while the number of available rentals stays low. A closer look at data, specifically data from PropTrack, showed that the market had become even tighter in August, with vacancy rates hitting a new all-time low. The national rental vacancy rate has dropped an amazing 0.14 percentage points in just 1 month and is now stuck at a mere 1.10%. As an example, this means that only a little more than 1 out of every 100 rented homes is on the market. When you take a zoomed out look at the numbers though, it becomes clear that the rental problem isn't just happening in one area. It's happening all over the country. In August, vacancy rates went down in almost every major city in Australia. Only Darwin was able to go against this trend. The rental rates fell the most in Canberra, minus 0.26 ppt, and Sydney, minus 0.19 Catlin ppt. In Perth, on the other hand, the number of open homes hit a record low. The rental market is getting tighter everywhere, even in rural places. Regional South Australia, and Queensland in particular, have vacancy rates below 1%, which makes it very hard for people to rent in those areas. We'd like to quickly pause to say that if you appreciate our content, please don't hesitate to click that subscribe button. Your support really matters to us. Now, let's get back to the topic. Since the end of 2021, the rental market has become much tighter in the places most affected by the pandemic. Smaller households, the growth of cities, and the return of people from other countries have all played a part in this trend, especially in Sydney and Melbourne. Since September 2021, the number of empty apartments in these towns has dropped by 2.21 and 4.14 percentage points respectively. It's interesting that household sizes have started to rise again in both capital towns and rural areas. This is probably because of tough living conditions and rising rent prices. This may seem like a sign of hope, but it's being cancelled out by strong population growth that doesn't seem to be stopping. The Australian Bureau of Statistics says that Australia's population grew by 2.2% in the year ending in March 2023. This is the fastest rate of growth in over 10 years. As if that wasn't bad enough, the quantity of new homes is still very limited. Approvals for new home developments are at their lowest level in almost a decade, and building has slowed down a lot. In sum, the housing market is having a hard time with a lack of supply at a time when it's most needed. Conditions in Sydney and Melbourne have gotten much tighter over the past year because demand has consistently been higher than supply. At the same time, the number of open apartments in Brisbane, Adelaide, and Perth stays below 1%, giving renters little hope for improvement. This mismatch between supply and demand has directly caused weekly rents to keep going up. Advertised rents in the capital towns went up by a huge 14.6% in the year ending in August 2023. Since family incomes and wage growth aren't keeping up, tenants have to spend a bigger and bigger chunk of their income on housing. Rising rents are a problem for all renters, but the rental issue is especially bad for renters with low incomes and people who get welfare. The rental market has never been less affordable for these people and families. The number of affordable rentals across the country is alarmingly low, and the price of rentals has been slowly going down. So you can get an idea of how bad this is. Last month on JobSeeker, only 0.06% of rental homes in Australia on realestate.com.au were affordable for a single person. The rates weren't much better for pensioners. 0.09% was thought to be affordable for a single person living off their pension. The national minimum wage has gone up by 5.75% in July 2023, but people making that much money can only afford 0.4% of homes for rent in Sydney and 0.6% of homes for rent in Melbourne. In the past year, the amount of affordable rentals in Melbourne has been cut in half, and in Sydney, it has been cut almost in half. This makes things even worse for renters. JobSeeker recipients have an even worse situation because in the past year, the number of cheap rentals has dropped by a third. In August 2023, only one of the rental homes offered in regional Queensland and South Australia were thought of as affordable. This paints a stark picture of the housing crisis that unemployed people are facing, which makes it very hard for them to pay to live somewhere. This rental problem isn't getting better for seniors either. Since August 2022, the number of cheap rentals has dropped by 30%, making things worse for them. It's getting harder and harder for a single pensioner to find an affordable place to rent. In some capital cities, there are no affordable homes for rent offered at all. It's important to be clear about what an affordable apartment means. It says that a rental home is affordable if its stated weekly rent is less than or equal to 30% of the minimum wage, job seeker, or a single person's basic pension. This requirement makes it clear how hard it has become for people and families with low incomes to find good homes. The numbers show a worrying truth. There are not only not enough open rentals, but also not enough rentals that are affordable. This shows how much more money and help are needed right away for cheap and social housing projects. Without these steps, the rental problem will only get worse, putting more strain on people's finances and making it harder for them to find stable housing. Even though steps like the 15% rise to Commonwealth rent assistance announced in the 2023 federal budget are good, they are not enough to stop rental prices from going up. Rent assistance payouts have not kept up with rising rent prices, making it hard for many renters to pay their bills. Rent increases aren't just a financial burden for landlords, they have a lot of other effects as well. The rising cost of housing makes tenants' financial situations worse, which is already a bad situation for people who don't have a safe place to live. In the middle of the darkness, there's a glimpse of hope. Investors are getting back into the market, which means that action has started to pick up. Lending to investors now makes up about a third of all new credit. This is a big jump from 2021, when it only made up a fifth of all new credit. Sales of rental homes have slowed down at the same time, which means that rental stock is growing at the same rate it was before the pandemic. Before landlords can breathe a sigh of relief though, they should know that the demand for rental homes is still well above what it was before the pandemic. Vacancies are still at all-time lows, and there aren't many renters available because homes are renting out so quickly. Since these things are happening, rents are likely to keep going up quickly, with more rises likely. This is especially clear in places like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, where most people who come to Australia for the first time land. Renters in Adelaide and Perth are also having a hard time because rental conditions are so tight. There are real people who are being hurt by the rental problem, not just numbers and statistics. It's not just about numbers and vacancy rates. It's about the families who are fighting to make their ends meet, the people who are afraid of losing their homes, and the weak groups who are being pushed to the edge. The rental issue is an economic and social problem that needs to be fixed right away and in a wide range of ways. The numbers merely show that things are not going well right now, and they also make it clear that cheap and social housing programs need more money and help right away. For similar content, feel free to look at some of the other videos on your screen. Until then, take care.